Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about the new rifle that I bought right here. We're going to talk about why I bought it, and this is going to be the start of a little project series where we're going to try to make this rifle as accurate as cheaply as possible, and then get a nice optic for it, kind of walk you through that process of why I'm picking what I'm picking. And before it's over with, end up with a pretty darn good rifle for a budget price. And then we're going to move on to reloads, and we're going to try to get some really nice hand loads set up for different types of hunting and even target shooting. I think it'll be an interesting series, so stay tuned. All right, so just to show it off here, this is Savage Axis 2 in stainless steel, and it's chambered in .308 Winchester. Now, as I'm talking here, I'll show you some B-roll pictures, a little up close of the rifle. More than likely, all my subscribers and viewers know what it is already, and have seen it a million times, and a lot of you probably have the rifle already. Now, like I said, I'm going to talk about why I made this purchase, but today we're going to talk about this rifle and why I bought this rifle. Now, I've liked the Axis 2 in stainless for a long time. I thought they were a great bargain. All right, so the number one reason that I bought this rifle is to have a channel gun. That's what this is going to be called. It's the channel gun. Now you say, what are you talking about? You've been showing off guns on your channel for quite a while. And I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop shooting any of the guns I've been shooting. I'm going to continue to shoot the other rifles and reload for them and test them and all that stuff. But I wanted a specific rifle that if I got a scope in from a company that was going to let me test it, I could just swap the scope out. Not that I couldn't do that on my other rifles, but I had them all set up exactly the way I wanted them. And some of them also have older type mounts, like loopholed, dovetail, single piece bases that are not the most common and not the most easy just to swap out scopes for. So I just wanted a more newer rifle with Picatinny rail, and one that I wasn't already established with, and that I could just, swap out scopes anytime. Also, of course, I'm going to use this to test reloaded components and, of course, factory ammo. So I was just looking for a channel gun. There's lots of rifles out there that I like. I like the CVAs, like Browning, like Winchester. I like the Bergaras an awful lot. I like Tikkas, just to name a few. Whether it be Vanguard, even the Savage 110 are all rifles that I do like quite a bit. The Axis is half the price of the lower end of those. But the thing about the Axis over those rifles is it's just so much more affordable. Its MSRP is around $450. Walmart had these for $350, actually $340. And then I did get a 10% discount, and I got it for $307 before tax. And that's what just separates this from a lot of other rifle cartridges. The only one that I can think of that's high quality, that's close, would be the Ruger American, which I have talked about getting, but it is a little bit higher, and I couldn't find a deal. So basically I just found a heck of a deal on this, and I thought it would be perfect for my channel gun. Now, before I get to the cartridge and why I picked the .308, let me talk about the pros and cons of this Axis. I'll start with the pros. They're just known for being accurate. In fact, any Savage rifle is just known for being accurate. Yes, there's lemons out there, but generally speaking, you're just going to get good accuracy right out of the box. It's a free-floated barrel, which is what you would want, of course. The Savage Axis 2 comes with the AccuTrigger, which my original one didn't. And that to me is a big improvement. I don't have to go buy an M-Carbo trigger spring kit to reduce the recoil. This might be a minor thing to some, but I do like the fact that the screws for the base are 840 screws instead of 648 screws. Just a beefier, more heavy-duty screw, and I do like that compared to the Axis 1. Now, this is completely personal preference, but one thing I like about a short-action Axis in a cartridge like a .308, for instance, all these Axises are the same length, so whether you get a long action or short action, The actual receiver is the same length. That could be a drawback to some people. They wouldn't like that. And in certain circumstances, I wouldn't like that either. The one thing I like about it is I feel like you just have more opportunity to seat that bullet out further. Now, I know that's dependent on how the throat and chamber's cut, but even though the magazine is shorter, so it's not the same length magazine as the long action, it's not, but this magazine will easily hold a cartridge that has an overall length of around 3 inches. And that's perfect for something like a 308, 7mm 08, or 243. So you can seat that bullet out pretty far, reasonably speaking, and the magazine is not going to be an issue. Now, this is going to be a contentious statement, but I think it's a good looking rifle. Is it the best looking rifle? Of course not. Some people hate the looks of a Savage rifle. I don't mind it at all. I think it's just fine. I really do like this black with the stainless look. Getting back to it being stainless, to get a rifle, a stainless steel rifle for, you know, a little over $300 is pretty unheard of. Maybe there's a Mossberg Patriot that is close in price, but I don't feel like they're as reliable and consistent as the Savage Axis. All right, some cons about the rifle that I'm not a big fan of. Number one, the bolt lift. Now, it's pretty hard. If you're used to it and you do it, you know, a lot, you're not going to notice it, but you basically get any other bolt action rifle and you cycle the bolt, it's going to be a little smoother than this Axis. It's not that the Axis bolt is not smooth, it's just when it gets to the top here, right there, it just has a pretty tough bolt lift. And both Axis rifles that I've had that same issue. In fact, it's not really an issue, it's just part of the way it's designed. There's nothing wrong with it, it's not doing any harm. But that is a con for me. But here in a minute, I'll talk about the solution for that. And then the second con, which I also have a solution for, is the stock. Now, even though I like the looks of the stock, I don't like how up here it easily moves and flexes, touches the barrel, and on one side it's right up against the barrel, and on the other side it's free floated pretty good. So how much the stock, this cheap stock, flexes, not a fan of. In part 2 of this series, I'm going to spend very little money and I'm going to fix every issue that I mentioned, and I think I'm going to turn this into a very nice bargain rifle. Okay, now why did I pick a 308? Yes, I already have a 308. I have the Franken gun, right? Like I said, it has a loopholed dovetail single piece base, which is a great base. It's just not as common anymore. And as I'm wanting to test out bases, rings, scopes, that's just not one that I want to be taking off all the time, having to use that special tool. I just want something a little bit more common, a little bit more modern, like a Picatinny rail. And it's not to say that I couldn't change it out, but I just want to leave the Franken gun the way it is. I like it the way it is. I don't want to mess with it. I just wanted something new just for testing. All right, so if you've watched my channel from the beginning, then you know I've flirted with buying several cartridges. Come extremely close to buying a 7mm 08 multiple times. I mean, had made up my mind to buy it and then couldn't find it for a long time. Right around 2020, 2021, I just couldn't find the rifle. Then I finally did find one and I didn't have the money. And then a couple other rifles, I ended up buying my 270 short mag in that time frame, and I bought that CZ22. Both rifles I'm thrilled that I own, and I'm really glad. And then so it just never worked out where I had money at the right time and I could find the Ruger American 7mm 08 that I wanted. And I still honestly want a 7mm 08. If you notice though, I've always talked about how it's such a great cartridge for everything. And if you only had one cartridge, it would be the greatest for everything. If you're just hunting, I might go with the 6.8 Western for the cartridge for everything. But if you're wanting to do everything with it, including target shoot, I picked the 7mm 08. But I'm not in that predicament. I'm not in that scenario where I only want one gun. So I have multiple calibers, multiple cartridges. But I still want a 7mm 08. And I almost bought one this time, but simply, currently, this value, this price, this deal that I got, they had it in 30-06, 308, or 6.5 Creedmoor. And I just had to make a decision on those 3 cartridges, and I picked the 308. Had they had this same rifle in this for the same price in the 7mm 08, I definitely would have got it. However, the one thing about the 308 over the 708 is factory ammo. I mean, you can get a lot more variety. It's a lot more available than the 7mm 08. Not that the 708 is unavailable, but not to the level of the 308. Any bullet that I like is being manufactured in factory ammo for the 308, and it's pretty much easy to find. So that's a big plus for the 308. Now, I've also talked about getting a 280 Ackley Improved, and I come really close to getting that once as well. I wanted it. I was actually going to get it in this same rifle, not the stainless version. It was just the basic Savage Axis 2 and 280 AI. The reason I haven't is I've had such a struggle with the 270 short mag as far as finding brass. And a few times when I was close to buying a 280 AI, I went on Midway USA, went to Bass Pro, checked a few other outlets, and could not find one place that was selling 280 AI brass. Something like Peterson brass or some other brand, couldn't find it. It was all on back order. Or it was something like a Nosler brass that was extremely overpriced. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a little worn down from trying to find components and things for my 270 short mag. Now, I've had a 6.5 284 for a long time. It's not super common either. I have found some brass for it. There are some factory ammo out there, but the factory ammo is expensive and the brass is expensive. And the 270 short mag is worse. The brass is unobtainium, pretty much. Can't find it. And the factory ammo there's some out there in Winchester, but not much. And once again, extremely expensive. Now, as long as I can get components, I don't really care about availability. But when I can't even get brass, it's just a lost cause. So for me to want to get a 280 AI and have another unobtainium cartridge to add to my other cartridges, I just felt like, you know what? I'm a little burned out of trying to find brass and components, so I think I'm just going to go with something a little bit more common. Now you might say, yeah, but man, you talk awfully highly of the 6.8 Western. Why don't you have a 6.8 Western? Well, one day I do want a 6.8 Western, for sure. I'd love to get it in a Model 70. But the truth is, it's another very unavailable cartridge. Nobody's jumping on board and helping them out. And there is no Savage Axis. You know, there is no cheaper alternative, and I just don't have the money to buy a Browning, a Model 70, a Christensen Arms, a Fierce or something. Just don't have the money to buy that caliber of rifle. But now there's one other reason that I chose to go with this type of cartridge, and I'll explain that now. So the one thing that's been consistent since I started my YouTube channel and even to this day is primers. Large rifle primers and Magnum primers. You can't find them. There has been some improvements. I can go on Midway USA and buy Varget powder and buy H4350. I can buy small rifle primers pretty easily. But large rifle primers and large rifle Magnum primers, can't find them. So I'm eventually going to run out of primers. I'm just about out of Magnum primers now, and I'm eventually going to run out of large rifle primers, though I've got a little bit. I've been doing a lot of hand loading, a lot of testing, and I plan on doing a lot more, in fact, ramping it up. And so I just know I'm going to run out at some point. So I want an alternative, and I'm sure most of you know, but there is brass out there that traditionally is a large rifle primer brass that is created with a small rifle primer pocket. And so I got to thinking, man, I can find small rifle primer brass pretty easily. I really need to get a cartridge that I could use small rifle primers in. But you're limited in the cartridges that you can get. You know, 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, 260 Remington, and then you got like your 6mm Creedmoor, your 22 Creedmoor, and there's a few more. I haven't listed them all, but they're not super common. From what I could tell, I couldn't even find like a 243 or a 7mm 08 that had the small rifle primer brass, even though you could resize 308 or 260 to those calibers. So to have a channel gun that I can test out scopes, but also, you know, work up a ton of loads with a ton of different bullets, I need a lot of primers, and I want a cartridge that'll hold those small rifle primers. So I found some Federal gold medal match small rifle primers. They'd be perfect for target shooting and for real precise marksmanship. And then I found some CCI small rifle magnum primers that I think would be great for hunting loads, especially if there's a hang fire issue with your small rifle primer. I think that little boost of power could be what the doctor ordered. So that's why I picked the 308 for all those reasons. I'm gonna get some Palmer Lapua or maybe Alpha Munitions small rifle primer 308 brass. I've already got the primers and probably use a lot of powders like Varget, and eventually I'll have it all set up where I can do a ton of testing. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue to test with the stuff I have been using. Okay, so I'm going to start to wind this first part down. You're going to see me kind of accurize this rifle on part 2. Part 3, I'm going to be mounting my optic to it. I'll show you which optic I picked. Then I'll kind of give you the whole package and how much I spent on everything that I put into it. Then of course we're going to test it. We'll start out by testing it with some factory ammo, and then I'm going to try to come up with some awesome hand loads for you. You know, how accurate can this gun be? What kind of hunting loads can I make with this? Whether varmint or deer or elk. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a fun series. So let me just tell you what I've already done and what I'm planning on doing in the next part. Now, I don't know about you, but I love to get a new rifle and clean it. I completely took it apart, inside and out, cleaned it. You know, they not only did they probably shoot it once or twice to make sure it was, you know, there was nothing functionally wrong with it at the factory. I think they put something down the barrel to keep it from rusting. So I just always get all that out. It's extremely dirty when they're brand new. I cleaned all that out. Of course, I broke it down, cleaned the outside of all the metal parts and everything. And this gave me an opportunity while it was apart to adjust this AccuTrigger. Now, like I said, Axis 1 didn't have the AccuTrigger. It's extremely easy to adjust the AccuTrigger. It was set about 3 3/4 pounds from the factory, which is not terrible. And I got it down to about 2 3/4, and it seemed to stop there. It didn't seem to want to go much lighter than that, but it really feels nice. Really feels nice. Has a nice crisp pull, lightweight trigger. Big fan of the AccuTrigger. Of course, when I put it back together, I retorqued these action screws. First the front one at 40 and then the back one at 40. I actually did a barrel break-in without a scope on it. I just pointed it at a rock pile where nobody was at, and I shot it 5 times, and I cleaned it 5 times. And I know a lot of you are going to say, hey, there's no reason to do a barrel break-in. It doesn't mean anything. I honestly don't know if it does or not, but it can't hurt. The theory behind it is when they cut that rifling, perhaps there's a little bit of, you know, flakes in there or shrapnel or some sharp edges or some kind of residue from that rifling process. And after you shoot it once, some of that comes loose. And you really want that out of your barrel before you shoot it again, just to keep it from causing some long-lasting effect on the barrel. Once again, whether that's true, whether that happens, I'm not sure. But in my opinion, a 5-shot barrel break-in, shoot it, clean it, shoot it, clean it, do that 5 times. If nothing else, it's for peace of mind. But you know, one thing I like about this gun is it doesn't even come with a base. I mean, it doesn't have a scope, but it doesn't even come with a base. And I actually like that. I know a lot of people wouldn't like that. They'd rather it be ready to take to the woods, but I'm gonna replace all that anyway. So I was really glad that it didn't have anything on it. I got it for really cheap. So I have ordered a Tally single piece scope base with the, of course, 8 40 screws. That should be here in a couple days. I'm gonna install that. I've ordered the rings and the scope. They're already here. I'm just waiting to put that on. And I'm really looking forward to doing that. I enjoy doing stuff like that. Now, I mentioned earlier some stuff I was gonna do and I would talk about it. There's a kit on eBay you can order, or you can go to the person's website, and it's a bolt lift kit. Simply put a few washers in there, and it's the stainless steel version, and it's supposed to take anywhere from 20 to 50% of the bolt lift out of there, which I think that's gonna be nice. It's 25 bucks, and I think it will at least partially fix one of my issues with the gun. And then I've ordered some Rockite, and what I'm gonna do, I'll make a video on this, but I'm gonna simply, and there's already videos on YouTube where people have done this, but I'm just gonna simply try to stiffen up this stock without adding a ton of weight. I will be adding weight, probably a pound or so, but I'm gonna stiffen this stock up. I'm gonna put it obviously in the barrel channel at the bottom, and I'll put a little bit back here by the butt plate to balance it out a little bit. And then after I get it all on there and put back together, I'm gonna see how it flexes up here by the barrel and if it's still closer on one side or not. And then I'm gonna get a Dremel and sand it out a little bit more just to make sure it's got plenty of clearance. And that Rockite that I bought, it's like $8 or $9, free shipping. And that bolt lift kit is $25. I've literally spent, I'm gonna hopefully spend about 40 bucks and fix all the issues I have with this rifle. All right, looking forward to showing you guys what I do, and especially looking forward to getting it out and shooting it and seeing if a cheap gun like this, a budget rifle, can be exceptionally accurate, and seeing what kind of hand loads that I can get to operate in this thing. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be fun. If you are interested in this series, please subscribe and click that notification bell so you'll get notifications of when the next video is coming out. I think it's gonna be a fun time. Do you have a Savage Axis? Have you done similar things to this? Please comment below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Check out all my links in the description. Hope you have a great day, and until next time, take care.